Hi, it's Bobbie from Fifth Avenue Cake Designs, and today we're going to be doing French macaroons. In fact, we're going to be doing my special creme fraiche filled strawberry swirl macaroons. So instead of showing you decorating techniques, I'm actually going to take you from beginning to end, step by step, on French macaroons. So let's begin. Okay, to start with macaroons, the first thing you need is a food processor. So I have my trusty Megamix food processor ready to go. Right now we're going to work with 3 ingredients. We're going to work with some fine almond flour, and that is probably the finest that you can buy. And I'm going to even grind it a little bit finer than this. So I'm going to pulse it a few times. And once I see that it's pretty fine, I will then add my 10 times sifted icing sugar, and we carry both of these ingredients in our store, so I've already bought it so that it's sifted like that. And I'm going to grind or pulse that together. You will start to notice in a few seconds here that the almond flour will go to the bottom because it's heavier than the sugar. I generally like to go in with a little spatula and scrape that out, or scrape it together. Even though we're going to sift it to our bowl, I don't want any big chunks left in that could possibly make my batter have bubbles or pops. So we're just going to go ahead and scrape that down. I'm going to pulse a few more times, and then we're going to add in our flavoring. So we've done about 6 batches. This is our 6th batch. It's 2 in the morning, so if I'm a little punchy, forgive me. I'm going to add in our dehydrated strawberry powder, and then of course I'm going to pulse it again, and that is organic dehydrated strawberry powder. And we'll pulse that to mix it all together. Again, you will notice my almonds are continually falling to the bottom. You're going to want to scrape that just a little bit, blend it into the rest of your mixture, and as you can see, my spatula is a little bit discolored. I've had that spatula since 2007, and it's my favorite macaroon spatula. So, even though it looks a little bit worn, it's my trusty spatula mixer, and you're going to want one that you feel comfortable with. Also, the spatula mixer and the spatula that you use to mix your macarons with, you're going to want to keep away and not have it with anything else. Because if you use it for royal icing, it'll deflate your icing. It won't ever come to the right consistency. Again, we're going to grind it up a little bit more till we have an extremely fine powder that we will then sift through. About not a really fine sifter, not a medium sifter. It's kind of in between. If you go too small, you'll find that it just will not go through. So you want a sifter that's more of a in between medium and fine. I have my special partner helping me right now, so Sydney will go ahead and sift this into the bowl. You're going to do this in 2 batches. That way you'll be sure that your tante portante, and that is what that mixture is, the almond flour with your icing sugar, and if you choose to flavor it, is called a tante portante. So you're going to go ahead and sift that into your bowl in 2 batches. Now as we get to the end of the sifter here, you will see there is some pebbles, I call them. They will never go through that sifter, and you don't want them in your batter. So we're just going to empty that. You're always going to have a little bit left over. No matter how fine you grate it, that's for whatever reason the sugar clumps with the almonds. So we'll go ahead and sift the second portion of our macarons, our tante portante, into our bowl. And as you can see, it got a little bit caked to the bottom there, even though I did scrape it quite a few times. So we're just going to go ahead and loosen it up. and sometimes it'll come out in a chunk. When we sift that, it will all go in just fine. You don't have to worry about it. Now that we have our second half of Tante Portante in our sifter, we'll finish sifting the rest of our mixture. As you can see, it doesn't take very long at all. Let's go ahead to the second portion, which will be our meringue. There are two types of meringues that you can use for making macarons. There's the French meringue and there's the Italian meringue. I prefer the Italian meringue, although it's a little more time consuming because it makes a prettier macaron, a stronger macaron, and the meringue gives me a little extra time. So let's go ahead and start with the vanilla bean, some water, a little more water, some castor sugar, and we will heat that up to the correct temperature. Generally, you should probably start checking the temperature once there are a little bit more bubbles than that, but I wanted you to see you need a digital thermometer, or you could use a regular candy thermometer. I find the digital one's a little bit easier to use to get to the correct temperature. You do not want it going over your temperature and you don't want it under. As far as your meringue goes, you're going to want to whip that to a medium consistency, and you can begin to slowly pour in your hot sugar. You're going to want to pour it down the side. It's very important that it does not touch the beater because that could make hot sugar come flying back at you, and it also does not get mixed well into your egg whites. Once you have that all mixed in, I like to keep my meringue going at a medium speed the entire time. I never really turn it up. I have a little bit more control at making sure it gets to a stiff consistency without being too stiff. And because I am using a copper bowl for my mixer, I can feel the heat underneath. I want it to stay a little bit warm so that when I do mix it with the almonds, it'll kind of help melt those almonds, but I don't want it to be super hot. It's also a good way to judge Italian meringue so that it can't break. It's one of my foolproof ways. Also, by looking at it, you can tell when it gets shiny and beautiful, you know that you have reached a nice stiff consistency. While we're waiting for our egg whites to become, or for our meringue to become a correct stiff consistency, I am going to talk about the fact that I had put liquid egg whites in there. When it got to a frothy stage, I added a little bit of castor sugar to help it. I am not adding any cream of tartar because I am using a copper bowl. If you have a regular stainless steel bowl that goes with your mixer, then you might want to add a little bit of cream of tartar in there. So I can tell by the way my bowl feels and by the way my meringue looks, it's time to add the essence. And that's just a little strawberry essence for aroma. We'll let it beat just a few more seconds. It's almost exactly where I want it. As you can see, it's getting shiny and pretty. And we're there. The consistency or the stiffness that you want is that kind of a peak. You want it to be able to stand on its own, but kind of tip over. So like an off-peak consistency for those of you who follow my royal icing videos. And now I'm just taking it off the beater. And I'm trying not to let go of any of the air in my meringue. It's a nice firm consistency, so I don't really have to worry about that. Now what we're going to do is add we're going to add the second half of the liquid egg whites to our Tante Portante. And then I'm going to add food coloring directly into to that bowl because I want the color to be muted. I want more of a light mauve color with some streaks of pink going through it. So that's what I'm trying to get off of my little knife there. And now we're going to go ahead and take our meringue and add it in batches of 3. So I'm going to take about a third and put it into my Tante Portante. This first mixture is just to amalgamate all of your ingredients together. We're not looking for any type of consistency with the batter. You can't overbeat anything at this time. You just want to be sure to have everything mixed well. This is pretty much what you want it to look like after the first third of meringue has been added. We want to make sure that you don't see many streaks of the meringue and you incorporate it into your batter. So we're pretty good there. I'm pretty happy. I can see that there must have been some pink on my bowl because my hand is full of pink. So I'm sorry about that. So I'm just going to scrape the sides a little bit, get it into one clump, and grab my second third of meringue. I'll just plop it down into the bowl, and again we'll fold. I keep saying stir. You do want to fold, and I do know that that is what I'm doing. So you want to fold the second half of your meringue into your mixture. And now this is a macaron. That's what the batter will be called once it's finished. Or you can call it macaroon batter. At this point, sometimes I will take my spatula and actually place it against the batter and the bowl to take out any lumps from the almonds that might be there, so I have a nice smooth batter. So you're going to continue to mix that second third in until you don't see any more egg whites. Now that looks pretty well combined. So again, I will release what I can from my spatula, put it back into the macarons batter, and grab the last third of my meringue and put it into my batter. Now remember, the bowl that you do your egg whites, that you are going to bring your egg whites to a firm meringue. You do not want any fat at all to touch it, not in your utensils and not in your bowl. So now we're going to add this last third. This is where people tend to get nervous who have not made meringues in the past or are just starting out, not meringues, make macaroons in the past. It is almost, and I won't say it is impossible, but it's almost impossible by hand to overbeat this batter. It is possible to underbeat it, and you will find that you do not get your beautiful crinkly feet, or that your batter looks like, I call them pimple people. So it's very important at this point that your batter is completely mixed and that it falls back off of your spatula in ribbons. It will resemble a very, very thick, sticky batter. I know a lot of books say to look for magna, which is lava from a volcano. I myself have never been in front or near a volcano and have never seen lava up close and personal. So I'm not sure that's a great way to describe what we want our batter to look like unless you've seen one. So I'm going to tell you that you just want a really thick batter that nicely falls in ribbons from your spatula. So as you're folding, scrape the sides. Be sure to incorporate any extra almonds, all of your egg whites, until you get a beautiful batter that is shiny. That's the other part of this batter. You will start seeing right now it's going to turn very shiny. It should probably be a little bit shinier than that. So I'm going to continue to mix it. As you can see, the batter is becoming extremely shiny. It's sticky. It is falling in ribbons from my spatula. I'm going to take it, fold it around just a few more times, and there we have a perfect batter that's falling in ribbons from my spatula. On your final go around, you just want to make sure that all those almonds are incorporated. Now, this is my trick if I'm home alone and I'm making macaroons, or if I'm in my commercial kitchen making macaroons. I will take a cone and put my piping bag inside that cone so that I can hold the bowl with one hand and the spatula with the other. It's just a little bit easier. You could still always do the puppet thing with the bag over your hand. This is quicker for me, and anything that makes things faster, I like. So just like you fill up any piping bag, you want to make sure that you grab it on the side and release as you come up. Now, I'm not too worried about that batter on the side there. I am going to scrape it down with a bench scraper because it's very important to get the air out. Keep in mind, this is an extremely sticky batter. So I'm just clasping my closer onto my bag tie onto my piping bag. I've already scraped it down, and I'll release the bag tie from the bottom and pull my piping tip out so that the batter starts coming down. Now, as you can see, it's pretty full, but because I have that bag tie in it, I can squeeze from the center, have control over how I pipe my round. You want to make pressure, release, and come around. Make pressure, release, and bring it around. If your batter has been made correctly, when you tap it against the counter, which you will hear, not see, in a few minutes here, it will fall back on itself and you won't end up with any Hershey Kisses. Try and keep your macarage batter about the same size. I realize we are not a machine, but as long as you have the same pressure consistency, they should come out pretty much the same size. It's important to remember that once you are done piping out your macaroons or your macaron batter, that you do pick up your jelly roll pan and wrap it against the counter. I prefer using a silicone mat, as you can see, rather than parchment paper. I generally make macaroons at least once or twice a week, so for me, the added expense is worth it. They release 10 times easier than they do from parchment paper. And since they're reusable, I don't ever have to worry about running out. So you'll continue to pipe. Once you have all of your macaroons piped out, put them down for an hour to rest. Right now you can see that they're shiny, they're beautiful, they're nice and flat. However, if I touched one, which I won't, you'll notice that they get sticky. So we're waiting for them to develop a skin, and it's very important that you allow them to rest for 1 whole hour. Now that's been a fast hour. I want to talk a little bit about the skin. As you can see, I can touch it now and it's developed a nice skin. The piping tip I used was a Matafer, and they are hard to find. I bought mine in France. Atikio has the exact same size. It's the size 808 of their large piping nose. My macaroons have been in the oven for about 5 minutes and 20 seconds. As you can see, my feet have formed. We have a nice line between the top and the bottom. Now, those are high feet and they will come down. That's one of the things that you want to look for when you are baking your macaroon. You need to bake them between 15 and 18 minutes and open the door every 5 minutes and turn the tray around. You should see those feet developing within that first 5 minutes. Our macaroons have come out of the oven, they have cooled, and you will notice that they will pop off of that mat. It's very important, I forgot to mention, that when you bring your tray out from the oven, that you quickly remove, whether it's parchment paper or the silicone mat, from your tray to a cooling rack, or your macaroons will become soggy. So you want to leave them on the Matafer mat on a cooling rack until they release by themselves, and you have beautiful flat shiny bottoms that you do not have any residue of macaroon on your mat. Once you have removed your macaroons to the cooling rack and they are ready, don't try and force them to come off. They'll release when they want to. As you can see, I have very little macaroon on that mat. That's what you're looking for. They need to rest on the cooling rack for a good 2 hours. At that point, I like to put them in an airtight container in my refrigerator, and the next day I will fill them. From the time that I fill them, I put them back in the refrigerator for another 24 hours so the flavors can marry. So I will see you tomorrow when I am filling them. So we're going to make a wonderful creme fraiche strawberry filling. What you need is a little bit of cream, of course some creme fraiche, which is one of my family's favorite ingredients, either for savory or sweet, and this is an amazing filling for macaroons. So you want to add your creme fraiche to your cream, and then you're going to start beating it. You can beat it with a hand mixer or you can use a standing mixer. I find it's easier for cleanup just because it's not a lot to do it with the hand mixer. On probably a number 4 speed, start beating your cream. And if you've ever done just straight cream, it's exactly the same. You want to beat it to a nice stiff consistency, but you don't want to go so far that it breaks and starts creating creme fraiche butter. So you're going to add your powdered sugar while you're beating it. I generally, if I start seeing just a little bit of trail from my beaters, I will start slowly adding my powdered sugar to my cream as I continue to beat it around. You'll notice once you do this quite a few times, you'll start to realize exactly when you should be able to start and stop. Now that my icing sugar or powdered sugar is starting to become incorporated to my cream, I'm going to grab a little bit of fraîche, which is a strawberry liqueur. It'll also create a very light pink color to my creme fraiche filling. And I promise you will fall in love. This filling is to die for. At this point, I'm just going to add a little bit of the essence that I added to the macaroons. It gives an amazing aroma and also adds a little bit of flavor as well. Or you could do, if you don't have fraîche, you can use a strawberry extract. My filling's starting to get to the correct consistency. As you can see, it's stiff It's on the beaters, it's staying there firmly, but we have not overbeaten it. It's fluffy, it's beautiful, it's perfect. We are now going to put it in a piping bag, and because it is soft and easy to pipe, I'm not too worried about if I overfill this bag. And I'm also not trying to make a design. I'm just trying to fill my creme fraiche filling onto my macaroons evenly. So I will fill up this bag. If you are more comfortable just putting in a handful, that's fine too. But unlike royal icing, this is very soft and you're not going to hurt your hands. Of course, we don't want to waste a drop, so now I've gone and grabbed my silicone spatula. Close or twist your piping bag tightly. Grab a macaroon, top and bottom, and swirl your filling from the outside toward the inside. And I guess I can't do that without holding the macaroon. Put the top on, and there you go. Now you have your macaroons. Now I've taken my macaroons out from the refrigerator. They are cold at the moment because I'm going to put them right back into the refrigerator. These will not be ready to eat until tomorrow because you want those flavors to marry. You absolutely want it to feel like just strawberry from the top to the bottom of the macaroon. Once you have them filled, once you have them ready, and you're going to serve them, I would take them out of the refrigerator about 90 minutes before you plan to serve your macaroons and let them become room temperature. Macaroons taste best at room temperature. And you don't want your filling to come out of the side, so make sure you have a little bit of space when you're piping them. And you want your macaroons to be roughly the same size. So our macaroons are filled. They have been in the refrigerator for 24 hours and sat out at room temperature for a good 90 minutes. And we are ready to serve them. You can do a couple of things. You can put them on a dessert platter with some petit fours and chocolate mousse and a little cake. You can serve them with some tea and coffee. Or you can package them up in one of these beautiful little brown boxes with a pretty bow and give them away as gifts. Either way, we had a great time. I actually had an awesome time teaching them to you. I hope you had fun learning how to make French macaroons. If you would like to purchase them, we also sell them in the shop, boxed up and ready to go. So it was great. I'll see you next time. Thank you for watching.